All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of the SoulCast. Hopefully, your go-to podcast for Soul Calibur. I am Scott, aka Zhang, along with my host, who has the most, Billy, aka Funked. What's up, dude?
Dude, about to eat some soup.
Nice soup talk, cup of soups. So it's been a couple weeks since our last podcast, and we're in the middle of the Evo season, so lots of stuff going on. So I wanted to touch on the, most recent big Evo qualifier, and that would be Power Up. So our guest that we brought on today was there, and hopefully you saw some vids, some streaming and whatnot of him. So without further ado, let me introduce MysticBill. What's going on, dude?
Hey, everybody.
So first things first, before we start talking Caliber, community events, and all that stuff, give everybody like a little bit of a background. Like right now you're Indiana, but we know you as Wisconsin. So kind of hook everybody up with like where you're from, what games you started playing, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, man. I actually got into video games playing Tekken Tag in the arcade. And this is like when I was in high school and didn't know anything about fighting games. And I mean, when I got into Tekken Tag, I got into mashing buttons on the cabinet playing Tekken Tag because that was awesome. Right. Actually, I was playing Eddie.
Everybody plays Eddie, their first character.
Right. No, it was great. And, so in Madison, Wisconsin, I kind of got introduced to the people that go to the arcade there. And then, Tekken 4 came out, and we're going to talk about Tekken 4. And then Soul Calibur 2 came out in the arcade, and I was like, I'm just going to keep playing Tekken because I like this game. But then everybody else got into Calibur, and so I got into Calibur. And so I was actually playing Valdo and Maxi, mashing buttons on the cabinet there. And we had a tournament, and I actually got third, but the guy that won came from Milwaukee. His name was Koichi, Luke. Came in and beat everybody down with Nightmare and just was on another level. And, then I wanted to get good. Then I wanted to actually learn the game. And then they had a tournament in Milwaukee. I ended up actually playing Taki and getting third in that. And that was Greater Milwaukee Open. That was a long time ago. And the guy that won was Flo from Chicago. He's not from Chicago anymore, but he's still a player.
Well, he's still from Chicago. But
right. He's still from Chicago.
He doesn't wave that flag anymore.
Right.
He likes to act like he never lived there.
So I never really got to high level in Caliber 2, but I did always follow the scene. I loved learning or watching videos online of the people that I liked, and I watched, the nationals in Chicago for that scene, and I tried to, learning from those videos best I could. I actually worked in that arcade after that, and I just always watched people play video games, and I always got good at learning, how to play characters and learning timing. But I didn't really have a concept of frames or punish until Soul Calibur 4. So I was playing Soul Calibur 2 and got pretty good at that. Played Soul Calibur 3, but I didn't like it because that was Soul Calibur 3. And then Soul Calibur 4 came out and still wanted to try and beat Taki, but I didn't feel like Taki could get far. And so I switched to Lizardman. And in my community in Wisconsin, Lizardman was pretty good. And I did well. We ran our regional there, and I got second to Esam. Esam's another great Midwest player. I've been playing him since Soul Calibur 2 also. And went to nationals and then got owned by Ivy and Amy and Hilda. And then, and that's when I really realized what fighting games should be. And that's just more knowledge on the whole system, on the whole game, not just learning your character and hidden buttons.
Yeah, and
I'm
glad you mentioned that because that's a huge thing that newer players kind of have, they stumble over a little bit. Is the game is more than just technical aspects. It's knowledge. There's a huge emphasis on knowledge. How much of the game do you know? And before we even started this recording, we were just talking about it. I have a problem with Tira because I didn't play 3 or 4, so she's brand new to me. I don't know where the openings are, and she just rolls me up. So it's just one of those things. You gotta keep putting time into it and keep learning. But
so now,
go ahead.
All right. Well, now I'm at a point in my life where I'm not in school. I just graduated last December, and I got a job in Indiana. But I have a lot more free time, so I can study more and learn the game more. And I'm trying to get a push to a good showing at this year's Evo. And so it starts with, trying to do my best to power up, and then from there, I'm going to try and do my best at Seasons Beatings and UFGT 8 in Chicago, and then hopefully Evo. We'll see what I can do.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be awesome because we need some Midwest rep
right
around here somewhere. So I guess you opened the door a little bit about for Power Up. So let's chat some Power Up because for me personally, I liked the competition that was there at Power Up. But I just kind of want to throw this question out at you. Were you at all surprised at how many, or I should say, how few people showed up? Because it seemed like a smaller tournament for what it should have been.
I really wish more people came out. And I think it's just that there are just a ton of tournaments to go to in this season, in this summer for Evo, but now MLG starting up too, and everybody also has their local and regional events. And it just seems like you can't really get to all the good ones, unfortunately. You can't, I can't afford to, and I have a good electrical engineer job. It's hard.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. I try to get to as many as I can, but Ohio is about as far as I can go right now.
Right. I mean, it is a great location. People did come from the East Coast, and we had a good little tournament. Then they were set up for more, but I think this is just the one people said, well, I couldn't go to all of them. I'll have to miss this one. I think that was a lot of the mentality in this region. So with that being said, what were your thoughts on the venue? Because from everyone I talked to, most people seem to enjoy it. But there was a little bit of a split where some people loved that they had a ton of space. I mean, there was so much space and extra stations there. I would actually think that you could probably hold an Evo size event in that place and it wouldn't be all that bad. You would actually probably still have quite a bit of room. But there were a lot of people, and I know Billy's actually on this side, that thought that there was too much space. It was too open, and there just weren't enough people to fill it, so it kind of felt empty. So what were your thoughts about the venue when it comes to that? Well, I think it's better to have too much than too little, for sure. I'm not familiar with the Power Up history, but Slutch, who's a player from that region, was telling me that space has been an issue in previous Power Up tournaments, and this was a nice break from that. And honestly, I think it was fine. I don't know about Evo-sized event, but I think they could have had 128 people in every tournament and been fine, and that's probably what they were going for. It just didn't happen this year. So hopefully in the future, more people show up, and then that venue will get used up better.
Yeah, and one thing to kind of demonstrate how few numbers relative to what they were prepared for, just for those who didn't go, the schedule, most people who entered at Power Up were that day entries. They were not pre-registered, and I think the tournament started like an hour and a half, 2 hours late, and there was still way too much time. You're talking I know for Soul Calibur at least there was hour and a half breaks in between brackets. So I mean they had a ton of space and a ton of stations available to them. I do want to kind of throw this to you, Billy, though, because since you're on the side that thought that it was a little too open, I do want to hear about that more to kind of bring anybody else in on the topic who's listening who might think that too much is can be a problem. So kind of share your thoughts on that. Why did you think that there was too much room and it was a little bit problematic?
Well, the reason I thought that too much room being problematic in this in particular instance was that the PA system they had, that if I did need to call like a match, even though it was so open that you couldn't hear the PA when you're standing 3 feet from the speaker. Let alone me trying to yell people's names across an entire, Von Maur or Nordstrom side store. Because that's basically what it was in. It was just in like a gigantic old department store. So, I mean, it was huge. And a couple of people, unfortunately got DQ'd because I called their name, waited to the last possible moment, walked around, called people's names. And I don't know if I happened to be walking in one area and they ran to the other area or whatever. It was really annoying to try to get people to stay in one place as gamers because everybody wants to see, oh, is this Marvel going on? Let's go see the crazy hype or whatever. Oh, are people playing Skullgirls over here? Oh, I just got done with my match. I won't be playing it again for another couple minutes, and then it'd be like back-to-back matches, and then it was just too much room for too much room equal too much dead space. So no matter how loud you were, it just you got lost in the air.
Right. I see where you're coming from there. There was actually a separate room next door that was like an old style arcade, and everything was on free play. Like if your player was over there, there's no way you'd be able to reach him. Also,
yeah.
Like I could see where you're coming from, Billy.
Well, other than that, I was very, because I was at Power Up last year when they had it at the old Arcade Legacy, and like, yeah, it was a little cramped, but.
And I personally, I think it's because of how they had it set up. I think they had plenty of space. It was just set up really funky, so the walking lanes were very narrow, super narrow, so you could go.
Yeah. And the problem with the way they set this one up, it was just like they wanted to give everybody like a bunch of room, like, oh, let's keep these guys away from these guys or whatever, and that was where the problem was at. It was like if you would have taken that gigantic big space and kind of condensed it together so everybody was in like a 50-foot radius of each other, it might have been easier for match calling and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I know we ran into that problem a few times where there were certain players who were entered in 2 or 3 tournaments, and you had to walk all the way across the room to try to track them down because the stations for games were just so far apart. But.
Yeah, like I remember like Perfect Legend. He was in MK, Tekken, just about every game being played, and he was always the very last match that I was able to play because he was either on the other side of the room, couldn't hear me, had to play in like 99 different tournaments. It was just like, seriously, dude, let's get this on the road.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny that some people who weren't in that position playing multiple games were still late for their brackets. Like, I thought that was a little weird because you have, like, even though the tournament itself got started late, everything was run so smoothly, and Osiris and Nathan, who runs the thing, who I think he planned this thing perfectly. He just got way more registries that day than I think he probably should have. But, I mean, the schedule, it wasn't hard to read. It wasn't confusing. Your blocks were there on time. Everyone had their assignments given to them, and yet still people didn't show up for their brackets on time. And we had to track people down, which I thought was really weird, but just goes with the position, I guess, of running tournaments.
I think everybody just assumes everybody's going to be late, so they just don't show up on time. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's the gamer mentality, just kind of lounge around and derp everywhere. But okay, so let's talk actual caliber, because I had the pleasure of you and I both did, Billy, and I'm sure you did as well, MysticBill, of talking and hanging out with Mick a little bit. I talked to KDZ a little bit, but not nearly as much as Mick, and I actually got to play some matches with Mick. But from your perspective, Bill, especially from top 8, like how did you feel the competition was? How did you feel like the game was progressing, and like what is your overall assessment, I guess, of the players that were there, and especially Mick and KDZ and yourself, top 3 getting the most Evo points?
Well, it's good to meet the players in the Midwest. I mean, there's not a lot of hype about the Midwest, even though like the top players are a lot of Chicago players, but the quality of player at this point, like this is early April when this is happening, and the patch had just come out. Like people kind of had to relearn the game and relearn backstep, and learn that backstep is not safe, and learn that backstep can be punished. And I got a lot of people with 6-6B in neutral situations because they were walking backwards, and it's just it was a kind of a fuzzy time because people were relearning the game again, and so learning new gimmicks and reacting to new gimmicks. And so whoever, put the most time in at that point did the best, which would have been, me and Mick and KDZ. But people were pretty good. A lot of people playing a lot of different characters and casuals, and people were eager to play and eager to learn from each other. And, there was enough time that people were showing off. There was one guy playing Hilda and just doing like C2B back and forth with himself, like C2B one way and then turn around and do it the other way, and did that like 3 times in a row in one combo, and it was pretty impressive. Like it was a good mix of players that showed up, good quality players that showed up. It wasn't a lot of players, but the people that were there to play. It was good to see.
So speaking of the patch, so you're a Natsu player, and I presume you played Natsu pre-patch. Now,
Yeah.
Billy over here hates the post-patch version of Natsu. So what kept you on that character?
Well, so when I started getting good at Soul Calibur 2, I was playing Taki exclusively. Like I had played a little bit of Xianghua, but Taki was just the character that spoke the most to me. And I played her in 3 and I played her in 4. She wasn't as good as other characters. Like it was obvious. Like you would work really hard, with Taki trying to beat Xianghua, but it just wouldn't come up. And then you just play like Ivy or Amy, and your job would be 10 times easier. And that's just how the game was. They wanted Taki players to work hard for some reason. So now we have Natsu, and pre-patch, you pick up the game and play Natsu, and the game just came out and everybody's learning. And she just, it seems like a stripped down Taki, but everything that you have is useful, and everything was good. And then they patched, the big thing was the full crouch A+B ground, caltrop ground stun got taken away. And that takes away a lot of your setup and combos, and 6 A+B counter hit not stunning.
That's what sold the Taki train away from me. I was like, yep, not playing this character anymore.
Right. That was huge, and it was a big part of my game pre-patch. And that came out, and I was on the fence immediately. And I tried to get a strategy going, and it didn't really go. And I tried playing Pure Omega, and I tried playing Leisha, and tried a bunch of other characters, and I would just keep coming back to Natsu, and I already had that depth from previous calibers to player, and just kind of stuck with it, and then kept coming up with different bomb setups, and just made it work. And I still think 10 frame AA messes up a lot of people, and gets me in there. And possession mix up is rock paper scissors, and that's a game I like to play. And it's a character that I have so much depth with that I don't think while I'm playing. I just kind of know. I just kind of feel what to do, and so that's why I play her.
So the learning curve isn't as big for you for that.
Not right.
Gotcha.
I like know the moves for almost all the characters. I know all the inputs for almost all the characters. It's just the strategy of playing someone else. I know what to do with Natsu. That's where it comes in.
So I actually have a ton of topics to talk about, but most of what I talk about actually is going to veer us away from Power Up. So before I do that, any last comments or anything about Power Up, or do you have any questions, Billy, for him specifically about Power Up?
No, I just going to say Power Up was really fun. I really enjoyed going out there and hanging out with people. I haven't seen Mick in probably 10 years, so it was nice to see that guy again. He told me I got fat, so that was nice of him. And the tournaments all the tournaments seemed really, really well ran. It was all pretty much community run. I don't think Osiren really ran anything. He might have stepped in for holding brackets and stuff, but the people that he got for to run brackets and everything, everybody was really professional, really fast. Kept stuff in check.
And
so
everyone was really helpful. I can't stress that enough. The people who were there running stuff were very, very good about communicating with each other and making sure that if somebody couldn't do something or get something done on time, then here you go, help me out, and everyone was on top of it. So.
Yeah, besides the beginning of the tournament where it started an hour late or an hour and a half late due to the overwhelming amount of registers that day and hardly anybody pre-registering for it, everything else went really, really smooth. And Spooky made the stream work with having a 56K connection. So everything seemed to work out really well.
Nice. And
so props to Nathan.
Yeah, and one thing out there to everybody who's listening, I can't stress enough that you guys got to make it out to this tournament. Cincinnati is a great town. It's one of the few places that I actually enjoy going to, because just the city itself and the surrounding scenery is beautiful, for lack of a better term. It's a great area. And then the venue was, I thought it was great. There wasn't anybody else there bugging us, even though it was a little more open. Billy already expressed the problems associated with that. But for the rest of the place, like the mall was, I guess it's a good and bad thing. It was dead, which I'm sure can be problematic in the future for Arcade Legacy. But there was nobody there bugging us. There were lots of stuff around, lots of eateries. There was a hotel right across the street. It was just a perfect place. So I mean, I want to encourage everybody to get out there. I can't imagine it's too expensive. It was pretty cheap for us to go, and we drove. But yeah, just a great overall event. So yeah, get out there, get to more events. In Ohio, I know is pretty close to a lot of big places, and I would imagine is probably pretty easy to get to. So no excuses, as I like to say. But to kind of go away from Power Up a little bit, we're talking about all of these players and patches and everything. And in addition to Power Up, just this past weekend we had two big events. The MLG, the 8-player invitational just happened, and then there was also a Japanese tournament, the Strike tournament. And I wanted to ask you, Bill, about this because KDZ is a Siegfried player. And I noticed that there were a lot of Siegfrieds relative to the number of players that were in the Japanese tournament. And there were also, I think there were a couple in the MLG thing as well. So based on like all of this, like how do you think this post-patch thing is? Because I'm not seeing like a lot of Siegfrieds like winning stuff. But he seems to be like a mainstay in a lot of scenes. So did you? I actually can't remember. Did you play KDZ in the tournament?
I actually didn't play KDZ at all that weekend, but I did play him in MLG Columbus in my hotel room a little bit, and he was playing Siegfried, but that was pre-patch. But we were, it was still good games. Mm-hmm. But Natsu can punish Siegfried's 3B, and nobody else can. So the fights were in my favor. In that one.
I'm actually curious about that because I don't really know a lot about that matchup. What is it? Is it just AA that you punish with, or?
Yeah, the 10-frame AA can get in before he'll go into that stance and do the kickoff 3B.
Gotcha. And so even at certain distances, you can still punish with AA.
Not at the max range, but most in the other distance, AA gets in there, and if he's trying to kick, I'll get counter hit, so I'll get AAB.
Gotcha.
So that shuts down a big part of his game, but the stance mix-ups are still hard to read, and he still has good spacing tools. And anybody spacing against Natsu is doing the right thing, so it's still tough. We just both knew the matchup and had good fights.
Mm-hmm. So did you get a chance? I know that you had a little tournament that you went to yesterday. Did you guys get a chance at all to watch any of the MLG Invitational thing?
I watched the stream when I got home because it was on Twitch TV. It was like archived.
Oh, gotcha.
And so I did watch it. I didn't see any of the Japanese one though.
Yeah, I haven't watched. Unfortunately, I haven't watched any of either. I didn't realize that they had the SC vids archived because I was looking for it and I was like, oh fuck, I can't because I'll be honest, I slept way later than I should have yesterday. So by the time that I got up, they were already on to Mortal Kombat. So I didn't get to see any of the, but I saw the results, of course, because those were really easy to see. But one thing that and this is weird that this comes from Mortal Kombat, but I brought it up and I was like, okay, please God, SC still be on, and it wasn't. But Mortal Kombat was on. I was watching Mortal Kombat, and it kind of sucked me in because for anybody who's not a Mortal Kombat fan and didn't get a chance to watch that, it was pretty amazing. Like I don't watch or I don't play MK anymore much. It was pretty much a time killer until SC came out, and so I put it down. It's been a long time since I've touched it, but I was watching it. Every single set was down to like the last round. It was ridiculous. But I was watching it and I was thinking about Soul Calibur, and this kind of goes back to Caliber and everything, but I want to know your opinion about this. Based on the games that I've been seeing, and this includes Caliber, Mortal Kombat, Tekken Tag 2 that's coming out, just knowledge of some of the things that they're putting in there, and even like more traditionally defensive games like Virtua Fighter, it looks like we're starting to see the death of defensive play and the birth of a more decisive play style. Like the systems are starting to cater to, it doesn't really matter if you're a good defensive player or not. you're being rewarded for just making a decision, regardless of what that decision might be. Do you think that's true, or what's your opinion on that?
That's an interesting question. I don't follow too many other games, but I do. I do look see what other people are playing. I don't follow a lot of Mortal Kombat, so I can't really talk about that. But as far as caliber, I think solid defense is still winning the game. It's just what else is happening is people are just making reads and adapting to their opponent. And so if the game is catering, I think the makers of the game do want to make it into a kind of spectator event. I think that's what they're trying to create. And if two people are staying at the opposite ends of the screen, that's a boring fight for sure. Yeah. And so I think I would agree that they are trying to make it so that it's more action-packed fighting for people to watch and enjoy. But I do think reading animations and solid defense gets you pretty far in caliber, at least.
Gotcha. Yeah, the only reason that I started to think about that is because just some of the system mechanics that they're starting to add. Caliber, every type of movement aside from neutral gives you counter hit. Obviously there's been a lot of discussion about the block frames after backstep. But even Mortal Kombat, when you watch Mortal Kombat, so many moves give you advantage or put you in a situation where your only defensive option is to poke out of it. I mean, that's the only thing that's going to come out. That, or you use some sort of armor move, and you have to use meter to do that. But I was starting to kind of expand on that, and I thought about Tag 2, and Tag 2, they the tag canceling is gone. You can't do that anymore. But even though you can't tag cancel, you can attack almost instantly from when you tag. So they're trying to place an emphasis on, rather than you trying to block when you come in, throw out a move to get them off of you. And then I even went farther and started thinking about Virtua Fighter. And I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about Virtua Fighter, but for those even with the smallest amount of knowledge of Virtua Fighter, you know that they have crazy inputs, and it's crazy technical. And the last time I played Virtua Fighter was VF4 Evo, and you could I wanted to say that you could buffer a grab break for every single option. And you had to be really,
I think you're correct.
You had to be really fast, but you could do it. But they've actually taken that away. I want to say that maybe you can get 2, but it actually stops you. It makes you decide. And then once you make that decision, you're done. Whatever the consequences are, that's what they're going to be. But I was just thinking about all of this, and all of these older school games, Caliber 2, Tag 1. God, I don't know really much about the older MK games, but I have a feeling they probably had some sort of glitches or something where you could be ultra defensive, and it just seems like that's changing now, to where they want you to attack more. They don't want a slow-paced game at all. And rather than being a game of chess, it's more of a game of instinct, if that makes any sense. It's weird that all that happened while I was watching Mortal Kombat, but Soul Calibur 5 especially seems to exhibit this, because everything gives you counter hit. It's hard to block after you've made a decision to move somewhere. So I was just curious, what you guys thought about it, and if you thought that was the same, if you saw the same thing, but it sounds like you still think defenses are really, really big in Soul Calibur 5, but I don't want to say decisiveness isn't, but that you still need defense. Defense will still win the day. Am I reading that right, or?
I think so. It's Soul Calibur in general. The series has always been a rock paper scissors game, and the more options you can read, the more animations that you can read, the better off you're going to be. There isn't too many things in Calibur that is unreadable, and if they are unreadable, they don't do a lot of damage. It'll be like a 2A or 2K or something, and so that gets you far. It's just there's more of the game beyond just sitting there and blocking, though. Because if you're just blocking, you're just gonna get broken down eventually. It's all about reading your opponent. And I think in past, and look at Soul Calibur 2, I think they just had a different idea of how to make the game. in general. Like they just wanted to make a balanced game for the people at home, and now they're getting into, well, people are actually watching this online. People actually want to see this game. We got to make it look good and make people, fight each other and not just run away. And so it's just the developers have a better idea of what sells a game now, I think, is how things are changing.
Well, and despite what I just said, I'm curious if what we have now and what we're seeing now isn't what they wanted eventually or previously. Because if you look at Tekken Tag 1 and Soul Calibur 2, both tag canceling and 2G, those are both glitches. They were technically defined as glitches. They weren't meant to be in the game. So I'm wondering if they intend, like the way that the game is structured now, that's not what they wanted it to begin with. And it just didn't turn out that way, because these little glitches. But, thank God for patches, I guess. But
right. I think, they have their developers and they have their game testers, and they fight each other, and they think that that's what it's going to be like when the game comes out. And then the fighting community, does whatever they can to win a match, and it's different. It's probably the mentality is different from the developers to the actual fighting game community. And then they realize that, and then they patch it. And whether it's better or worse, it's up to the eye of the beholder, probably. But I'm learning to like it. Honestly, it's a different game than when it started, but it's still a good game.
My only option right now, aside from the occasional times when me and Billy get together and play some matches, is online. And man, I hate one and dones. Just gonna throw that out there. I hate one and dones so much. But the way it goes, I suppose. And then they managed to sneak in a patch, I guess to fix some glitches, but they made a couple random balance patches or fixes, which is kind of goofy. And then all of a sudden...
It's interesting. There are some decisions they made that are controversial for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
And whether it's good or bad, or whether they have reasonings that we don't know about, or what, or if they're listening to players, I don't know. But it's interesting what's happening.
So to kind of go back to something that we were talking about before we even started this recording, you mentioned how oh my God, I'm blanking out, Viola, how you were having problems with Viola, and then I just brought up MLG, and we won't go into MLG too much because I actually plan on getting somebody who was one of those 8 players on, but
sure.
Were you surprised at all to see that Kiev had switched to Viola?
Yes. Oh man, that's so crazy. I mean, I think he switched to Cassandra and Soul Calibur 4 at the end of the Soul Calibur 4 era. But I mean, this guy was scaring people with Nightmare before Nightmare was even scary in 3 and 4, and being pushed off his main character, that's huge. Honestly, so congrats to Hawkeye for bringing it to him.
Absolutely.
Honestly, I mean the guy Hawkeye
USA.
Right, Hawkeye was just letting it go, and it was all, and put the fear in all his opponents. Like, it was really, really good to see.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest thing that I took away from MLG, and I honestly I haven't heard any real explanation to why he switched to Viola, other than possibly he was tier whoring. But even then, as far as I'm aware, Nightmare is still really fucking good. So I'm curious.
Right. And Nightmare versus Natsu is a little bit in his favor due to the spacing too. I mean, Natsu has to work to get in, and Nightmare has that huge throwing range. But I mean, it just got in his head. I mean, it's just, who can? I mean, you should get Keith on here and ask him why he switched off. Honestly, who can really say?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's I'm gonna try. I make no guarantees to our listeners, but we'll try. We'll try to get Keith on here.
You're gonna need a translator. He doesn't speak English too well.
What they're French, right? They're
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's okay. I've heard or listened to podcasts where they bring on Japanese people and they have a translator on there. So we'll see what we can do. We'll work something out. But
we'll have to get Kane and Kiev. It'll be like a double whammy.
Does she speak English?
She does.
Oh, there you go. There's our translator right there.
And when they have the MLG interviews, usually she does translate for him too.
Nice. Yeah, I just thought, that just blew my mind because I was like, man, Nightmare is so scary, and he's one of the scariest players in the world to begin with. And and then he switches to Viola.
I mean, first off, who knew he had a pocket viola? I thought he was a Nightmare player.
Yeah.
And then, and then he did, I think he won a match with viola too, if memory serves. But I mean, Hawkeye stuck it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, another Natsu out there just trying to, trying to prove Billy wrong that she's not bad.
He's also a guy that's been playing her since early days. I think he's been playing her since 3, and just that depth of character knowledge just pays off. I'm sure.
Well, that's all the questions I have for like MLG and any of the other events. Just for those who hadn't heard, I believe Plasma won the Japanese tournament.
Do you know what character he is?
Siegfried. And that's why I brought up the Siegfried thing, because I think it's really weird. Like if you look through this, the list of all the players in that Japanese tournament and the characters that they played, Siegfried is by far the most played. There's 1, 2, 3. Let's see, I thought I saw a 4th in here somewhere. No, just 3 players, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So of 20 players, there's 3 Siegfrieds in there. And and 2 Hild, I think, and there were a bunch of others that were 2. But like that, and for those that are doing math, obviously 3 out of 20 is a low percentage, but relative to the number of characters that are in the game, that's a pretty high percentage. And then a Siegfried ends up winning the whole thing. So I'm wondering, like, we were talking about KDZ, and then Nightmare is a little different, but there's a lot of Nightmare players out there as well. And I'm just wondering, like, what it is about Siegfried that people are seeing that's and you said Natsu is actually a really good matchup against Siegfried, so I'm curious, like, what the Japanese are seeing in Siegfried. And we have a couple of good Siegfrieds here in the States, but he's not like making a huge splash. I don't really hear a lot about Siegfried from Europe, but again, that could just be my ignorance, who knows. But just a curious circumstance there. And then Hilda, I believe, came second. Or Hill.
Interesting. Wow, that is a unique finish for a tournament.
And again, I haven't watched any of these videos, so I don't know if there's maybe some crazy technology that they're using that we just don't know about. But I know, like, when the patch came out, a lot of people were saying, just because of some of the buffs and nerfs, who was it that got there was one character specifically that got nerfed that people didn't think should have, and it was
Spy, probably.
Maybe, but it was because
Valdo.
Yeah, it's because of Japanese players getting rolled by a certain player, and I can't remember who the fuck it was. But I did, it's interesting to see all these varying results, and then the patch kind of moves characters around because of that. And even though it's not universal, like, obviously we're not seeing a lot of Siegfrieds rolling people. It's Nightmare, for the most part, and then a lot of Leishes. But just really interesting how those results pan out. But so hopefully we'll get some more. We'll definitely get some more MLG talk on a later episode. But one thing that I wanted to discuss with you, because we actually we saw each other online not too long ago, and unfortunately I couldn't stay for too long because my internet was on the fritz, and there were like 4 or 5 people in that room. So I wanted to throw this at you, MysticBill, because I kind of threw this question out to Hates as well on our last podcast, and I just want to get your thoughts on it. But the online thing, it seems to be good for the community, for the growth of the game, and even a relatively good practice tool. And Hates has the pretty much run-of-the-mill opinion where it's really good, but not something that we should be moving towards as far as like ultra competitive medium, so to speak. So I just kind of want to know your thoughts on online so far. Do you think what do you think they're doing well? What do you think they're not doing so well? And just kind of your overall impression.
Well, honestly, online right now is the best it's ever been for Caliber, for sure. I mean, on a good connection, it's playable in that you can react to most of the slower lows, I guess. But it's interesting. It's definitely good to play online just to practice the game. But it's definitely, as before a major tournament, I always try to play offline immediately before the tournament as much as I can. So like this week I'm going to Seasons Beatings on Saturday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday I'm going to try to play online, and Thursday, Friday I'm going to try to play offline just to get my timing back. But it's I think online is good, but it's still, I mean, certain things are unreactable. You have to predict your opponent is going to do something. So like if they're going to throw or do a low, you're going to duck before they even do that move. And that's just how the timing is for when you press buttons and for when they happen. And that's, that's not what you want to do offline, because if you're sitting there and you're ducking before the moon comes out, your opponent will see it and then run up into a mid. And so it's interesting, and it's getting better, and I hope they keep working on it. And it is the best, and I think people should do it just to learn animations for moves, because if you can react to a move online, you can definitely react to it offline. If not, making your reactions better. But I think people should play online, but know that it's a different version of the game, basically. And so if you want to get competitive and play online and make an online tournament scene, I think that's great, and I always encourage people to play the game as much as they can. But I'm pretty sure it would be different. It would be a different scene of people than the offline scene of people probably playing.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the reaction times, because I'm pretty sure I've said it at least a couple times on the podcast series so far that if nothing else, it makes you react faster to moves because your window is smaller.
Because your window is smaller.
But there's no doubt about it. You have to be impressed with the netcode. I mean, you just have to be. It's leaps and bounds above.
If you were playing Soul Calibur 4 online, I don't know why.
Exactly. And
if you ever were like, it was like watching a slideshow of the game.
That's hilarious. And for all those Tekken fans and Tekken players out there, Tag 2 will. They already announced it's going to have the same netcode. So Tekken is a different game, so we'll see how it works. But that's always good moves. It's just it's a step in the right direction.
It's encouraging to hear that. I'm excited to play Tag 2 even more.
Absolutely. So my biggest pet peeve with online right now is that the one and done system. It doesn't matter which route you take.
Sure.
Whether you create your own room or whether you do ranked or the Global Coliseum, whatever the hell it's called. When you challenge somebody, it's only one match and then you're done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big fan of that at all. And especially with rooms, when you have to sit there and you have to wait for 4 matches before you get one match and then you're done. And
sure.
For some people, for a lot of people, and I include myself in this group, like it takes a match for you to kind of get your opponent down and get settled in. And especially if it's a close match, oh man, that's really frustrating when you have to walk away and you can't run it back, So that's really my only pet peeve, but I think it's I have a lot of problems though with the way that the ranking system goes in ranked, but I think it was designed just as another challenge mode, so to speak, where as long as you play enough matches, eventually you'll get to A1, even if you lose most of them, as long as you continue playing. The way that it distributes points. So I'm not sure exactly what they were thinking on that. So I'm not a big fan of it, but it's hard for me to say whether it was bad or good because I don't know their intentions. Online is, as Hate said, and you have echoed as well. It's a good thing. It's a step in the right direction, but we can't count on it for all the competitive stuff. Billy, did you want to weigh in on this at all? Or?
You're pretty much saying everything I have to say. So it's just rewind the podcast and listen to what Scott had to say, and then that's what I had to say.
Nice. Thank you, my co-host. You need to make cue cards or something, one-liners that you can just jump in and say, "Yo, yeah, here's my line."
Well, yeah, since my internet just disconnected, I kind of got lost on a lot of stuff that was going on. So.
Oh,
it is what it is.
Well, it's a new topic. It's we're talking online, so
I don't play online simply because it's not that I think it's bad or anything. I just don't play it. I don't know. It's just kind of how it goes.
It's a personal choice. I respect that.
I can absolutely respect that. There's been times when I wanted to pull my hair out playing online, but it's when you don't have a lot of competition and it's just you and I, Billy. For me, I play 3 characters in the game, and the game's been out a couple months now, and I'm only playing 3 characters, so I don't really pick up characters very fast. So I'm sure it's very bland playing me. I'm sure it gets very boring doing them.
Well, I mean, I played Natsu, and then I dropped that hoe, and then I was playing Nightmare, and he's fun, and I just don't play the game that much either, so it's kind of like it's different, I don't know. I have so many other games that I'm playing, and I'm getting ready for Diablo.
Oh, thank you for mentioning that. Yes. So for those listening and hopefully enjoying the podcast, we're going to keep doing the podcast. Don't worry. But expect a little bit of a hiatus once Diablo 3 comes out. I mean, we're pretty much going to be dead to the world unless you happen to be playing Diablo 3 as well. Chances are we're not going to talk to you. And you're not going to hear from us. So just throwing that out there as a little bit of a warning, a precursor of things to come. But hopefully we can get at least one more episode in before Diablo hits. At least that's what I'm trying.
Yeah, and it's like I personally I try to keep up on all the tournament results and everything just so I have knowledge of it. But I haven't terribly been playing the game a whole lot. I've been practicing League of Legends. I'm in a fucking a clan or a team for that, so I practice that a lot, and I play the game maybe once or twice a week right now, and what I do, I usually just sit in practice mode and practice execution.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because in the speaking of we're talking online, it has that option that you can register rivals, and when you do that, it actually gives you the stat for that player for everything. So like when you go to practice, before you actually enter practice, when you're just highlighting it, it tells you your practice time and then all of your rivals' practice time. And, we were talking to Hates on the last podcast, and I don't know if he said explicitly that he doesn't play a whole lot or if he just mentioned that he doesn't have a lot of competition or anything like that. But his practice time and his time online is so much bigger than mine. Like I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, I'm not playing this game enough. It's like if he's playing it and he doesn't think he's getting enough time in, I'm definitely not getting enough time in. Like I'm not even close. And I have just a fraction of a percent of the time that he has logged on that game. And considering that I've had other people play on my machine and it wasn't me, I'm sure it's even smaller than that in actuality. So,
yeah, Hayes is playing Serving. It's a high execution. I'm sure he's trying to land that combo off instant GDR all the time. I bet that's what it is.
Yeah,
he does pretty consistently.
Yeah,
so.
he is pretty good at it. And I'm really weird because I play Survey as well because I really like him. And in combos, my IGDR percentage is really high. But if I just try to do it out in the open, like it drops by half. It's really weird. Like
damn, you need that.
I know. It's like one of those. I usually just use 3B, and most of the time 3B works in the same scenarios that IGDR does. But IGDR is so crucial for his combo potential. It's so crucial. Like you're literally getting an extra 30, 40 points of damage if you do IGDR juggles. Not to mention, it gives you better Oki. So like it's as far as a Punisher, really, really good. But when it comes to combo potential, I mean, it's huge. Like you absolutely need it. You might as well not be playing him if you can't do it. But like it's just weird, like watching him in all these practice or all of this time that he's logging, and he is really good at doing the IGDR stuff. But yeah, it just blew me away watching.
And he says he's not good. I'm sure he's figuring out a lot in that practice mode. I'm sure he's trying to find setups.
Oh, sure.
Trying to plan for. If they tech roll this way, I'm going to do this move. I'm sure he's the type of guy that really gets into that kind of thing. Like he's going to gain a lot of knowledge for sure.
Yeah,
if he starts. So.
Absolutely. And and I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to do my due diligence and log my time that I can, so at least I don't totally suck whenever I get into a tournament match. Although I will say my power up performance was very lackluster. I did way better in Tekken than I did in Soul Calibur, and I haven't touched Tekken in probably 6-7 months prior to that. So that was a little disheartening. But, you know, it is what it is. You keep playing, you get better, hopefully. But until Diablo comes out, and then you lose everything. And you go bankrupt. But, you know, that...
Dude, whatever. I'm going to make the millions.
Yes, make the millions. Use the online auction house and make that bank.
Dude, I'm planning on quitting my job because I'm going to make $1 trillion.
I turned in my resignation yesterday. It's done. It's a done deal. They know I'm leaving on the 15th.
They asked me, "What are you going to do?" And I was like, "I'm going to get that internet money."
That internet money, that fake Diablo gold. I'm going to get that. I'm going to use that for groceries.
Dude, I'm pretty sure that there's some place they'll let you. Like, oh, snaps! You got 3 rings of Jordan. Man, you can buy a car.
If only it was that easy.
Good luck to you guys.
Yeah,
I really hope you're able to do that.
I'm hoping that I'm just planning on having fun with it because it's a lot like StarCraft 2. You know, you've waited 10 years for the game, so you're kind of hype. So I expect that first week to be absolutely baller, and then it'll probably die off after that. What I'm really hoping, like praying to the stars, is that it's kind of like Magic, you know, where there's just so many people playing that even if there's a lot of supply out there, the demand is just so much higher that people are still willing to pay good money for the really good shit. You know, that's my wish, because then I really could quit my job, but I'm not holding my breath. Let's just put it that way. But back to Calibur, where you can't make money, at least unless you're super good.
You can't sell Calibur.
Can't sell creations. Although, to be completely honest, some of the creations out there, I would give them money for it, just for coming up with, like, really, wow. But
they works of art, yo.
They are works of art. Well, man, I'm starting to run out of topics. We've covered pretty much everything that I came in with. We talked Power Up. We got a couple of events that just happened, and we'll be talking more MLG later, because I'm pretty sure I can get at least one of the people the 8 players that were there onto the podcast. So we'll come back to that one. We'll
try to get maybe Hawkeye.
Yeah, well, I actually,
that'd be great.
I
want to hear from him.
Yeah, from him, and then I know people would love to hear from Kevin Kiane. I know that episode would just be. Yeah, people would crack out on that one.
You should ask if they're dating.
They're dating. Do people think they are?
If you're watching a stream and you're looking at the chat, that's what the chat's talking about. It's crazy.
They're just talking about that, huh? I think I think like all the people who watch streams and stuff of Soul Calibur and they see Kiane, they just really want to know if somebody's having sex with her. I think that's the only question that they're really asking themselves. So they're trying to do it in a less blunt manner by saying, "Oh, are they dating, quote unquote?" But this is how female gamers work, man. Everybody wants to know all up in their personal business and shit. Right. But aside from that, you mentioned season beatings. That's coming up here pretty soon. Then we got CEO right around the corner. UFGT is at the end of. Are we in May yet?
Into May.
Yeah. We are not.
Which I may or may not be at. I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet.
So it's on Labor Day weekend. So if you go, you got that Monday off.
Yeah, true.
If you got let's have that Monday off.
That is the truth, my friend. But that Monday might have to be spent playing Diablo. So.
Well, it doesn't come out till Tuesday. Oh no, wait, sorry. That's the week after Diablo comes out.
Yep, it's the week after.
Because we'll be out of town the weekend before as well.
That's dangerous, I mean.
It's dangerous.
Right, all that time you could be getting Rings of Jordan.
Exactly. I could be getting all the internet money.
I expect to have all of the internet money before I go to UFGT, so it's not a problem.
Are you guys going to go to EVO?
I am not, simply because it's on 4th of July, and I just can't afford the travel expenses.
Yeah, it's really at an inconvenient time this year. Plus, with all pretty much the expense. Pretty the same thing Billy said.
Sure,
it's a rough expense, and unfortunately, we don't have Evo points, so we can't just go in, expect a guaranteed spot.
Well, I don't really know why. I mean, I guess they're like, oh shit, it's 4th of July weekend. Who doesn't want to be in Vegas? But that's the question. Who doesn't? Everyone wants to be in it. So I mean, you're going to have a hard time getting hotels.
Right.
The travel cost is just, much more expensive during those type of holidays. So if you're going to fly, it's just not cheap. I mean, if I was going to drive, because it was like, a couple miles away, obviously, it wouldn't be that big deal. But
if you're in SoCal, essentially, no big deal. Just drive. It's like a drive to Chicago from here. No deal. But, yeah, that's how it is, though. But Evo continues to grow, so it definitely won't go away. We'll have more chances to go. I would like to go, but man, I am so not a people person. Like, it's not funny.
I find that hard to believe.
I'm just not like the gamer crew. I'm cool with them. Okay, like if I go to a gamer event, I'm perfectly fine with that. I can deal with that crowd. I mostly like everybody. I don't really have any enemies. No, as far as I know, nobody hates me. But you never know. You might have some closet haters out there. But for the most part, gamer events, not a big deal. Fucking the whole Vegas thing, like just packing people on the streets and shit. Oh,
sure.
I can't deal with that. I just can't.
You'd be surprised walking around at like 11 p.m. in Vegas, and there's like people with their strollers and their kids still walking around, and like, what are you doing? Like, why are you even out
all
here?
The hookers are out, and the Mexicans handing out their hooker cards.
Right, exactly.
Put your kids in bed. Yeah, that's crazy. And when we went earlier this year as just a friendly, vacation or whatever, it was super nice because, Vegas is never closed down. Doesn't matter what time of year you go. There's always going to be a lot of people there. But, it's early spring. Nothing's really going on. There aren't any holidays. You're post-Christmas. So anybody who wanted to get out of wherever they were for the winter or whatever, they've already done that. So it was very light traffic, and just walking around, even though there were a relatively large amount of people out, it still seemed dead. Like you had plenty of space. You weren't bumping elbows with people. Like it was really, really nice. Plus, it was very cool. It wasn't fucking hot, as I'm sure it will be in early July. So, although like they would say, it's a dry heat. So whatever. But
yeah, it's still hot.
It's still hot. Exactly. Yeah, hot is hot. Just because it's a dry heat.
That's true.
So yeah, unfortunately we are not going to be at Evo. But you know what? We've been to enough events.
If someone wants to like pick up our podcast and sponsor us, and then to fly us out there and like pay for our hotels and get us some drinks.
Yeah, I'd do that.
Then I'll go out there.
I was hoping you guys were going to sponsor me. I'd have my gamer tag be VGF MysticBill. That'd be perfect.
You know what, dude? If we blow up, I'll do that. But don't hold your breath.
All right.
Yeah, if anybody at Namco's listening, we would like your money.
Yeah.
So send it to us in stone rings of Jordan, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll do lunch. But yeah, outside of that, lots of stuff going on. So plenty to fill your palate with as far as events and stuff go over the next couple months.
Yeah, it's a busy time for a gamer, for sure.
Very much so. So are you, aside from Seasons Meetings and Evo, you said you were going to UFGT, right? So really the only Evo qualifier that you're going to miss is CEO. Am I right about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm not completely familiar with the road to Evo. I thought they had a ton of tournaments on there.
Well,
I think there's
one in Virginia that still has yet.
There's one in Tennessee, I think. It's like a Midwest Championship or something. Something like that. But and Florida has, and Washington. But yeah, that's where my money is going. It's going to Seasons Meetings, it's going to UFGT, it's going to Evo. I can't afford anything else. I would love to go to Anaheim for MLG, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there that would like to go to MLG and go do the MLG experience.
Get that esports money.
Well, one thing that's kind of weird when we brought this up, I think we talked about it both with Hates and with Esam. The whole money issue with like some of these tournaments, and like MLG, it's $50, right, for the entry, right. I think. And then does that cover everything, or is that just like the ticket in, and then you have to pay some sort of entry fee?
No, that's your entry fee, and that's how you get in.
But
you get like a player thing on your wrist, and then you walk in.
Yeah, because we were talking about this a while ago, and how things are just like seem to be spiraling out of control, and like everybody has like these early bird registrations that are cheap, but like even UFGT, if you look at UFGT, and this goes out to you, Billy, the early bird registration, which closed forever ago, was $25, right. I think, and then it went up to 30, and then
And that today is the last day to register, and the normal registration fee is today.
Yeah,
so you guys list,
which is
go ahead and register.
Which is $40, by the way, or it goes up to $40 here shortly.
Right, tomorrow it does.
And then the emergency registration the day of is $50. Like, holy God! Like that's so, and that's just the entry fee or the venue fee. That's not per game.
Right.
So you have to shell out an extra, $10 whatever dollars for every game that you want to enter. And for those like Perfect Legend, we entered in early. I mean, you're looking at possibly close to $100 just to go to get into the event and everything. So kind of crazy how that's working. And that's actually another plus side to Power Up. Like everything relative to what you got out of the whole experience in the venue, like it was fairly cheap when you compare it to some other majors. So it seems weird that like the prices are going up so much. And I know Evo is not cheap to go to.
Right.
So did they? I was actually going to ask you about this. I know you get Evo points for top 3. Do they throw anything into like your transportation or your traveling costs for Evo?
No, I haven't learned about anything like that, and I doubt it's going to be the case.
I doubt it too, but I figured I'd ask, see if you got lucky somehow.
No, with venue fees going up, I mean, I'm sure venues do cost money, especially if you're like renting a convention center in Chicago or something. Oh, yeah. I'm sure that's not cheap. And gas is going up this summer, and that just makes everything else in the world expensive.
That's true.
And so it's just, that's just where our economy's at.
Well, one thing that I do find interesting, and this doesn't really have to do with Soul Calibur or the gaming community specifically, but I was actually reading an article the other day about it was more of an editorial, but it also had like a journalistic quality to it because it kind of filled you in on some specific knowledge. But I was reading an article that was essentially the death of the $60 game, and
oh, that's sad.
Yeah, I know.
I hope it's getting cheaper then. I hope that's what they're saying.
Yeah, that's what they were saying, because like all of with the exception of the really huge powerhouse titles like Modern Warfare or Call of Duty, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and WoW, and pretty much every Blizzard title, oddly enough. But Madden, those sort of huge titles, like everything else that comes out on disc, they don't get the numbers that will support them by charging $60. And in the past, gaming companies have been able to do that because where else are you going to get the game? And there's no real competition like from other markets, so you have to buy within this kind of $60 structure, so to speak. And but now when you have stuff like Steam and you have the PlayStation Store and Xbox Live and all of the phone apps that you can download games for $1 or $2, and you're seeing all these games that are essentially dying because nobody's going to pay $60 anymore. Like, unless you're something that everyone has to have, no one's going to pay $60 for your game because it doesn't fall under everyone's budget anymore. Like, it made sense when you were a niche market where you kind of have to charge that in order to make your money back. But times are changing, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with fighters, because fighters are popular, but you can't. Even Street Fighter, you simply can't compare it to a Modern Warfare or a WoW. The numbers that they pull in are just astronomical and asinine. But that's a completely different topic. But that being said, it's curious. Maybe we'll eventually get like a download Calibur or a download Tekken or Street Fighter or whatever it may be, and it'll only be $10. Although, speaking of that, didn't Street Fighter have a downloadable version? I thought they did.
It was 15 for the latest AE.
Yeah.
Or when Arcade Edition came out with the 2 new characters, it was $15.
Was that
download online?
Was that an update, or was that like the full game if you didn't have it?
You needed the game, but it was $15 for the update.
Gotcha. See, I'm curious to see if they eventually just kind of ignore the whole disc thing and be like, hey, you can download the entire game for $20.
Right. That's what I really like about Steam, is that games go on sale for like 80% off.
Absolutely.
And it's crazy, but it's like I totally wouldn't pay $60 for it, but I would pay 15. I mean, that seems like a great deal.
Well,
Just look at the numbers.
I read an article about Steam. Like they're like, okay, so whenever they have like like they had their holiday sale like in like August to like December, where everything was like mega on sale and they rotated games all the time. They were saying like they make like almost 6 times the amount of money on those games that they do when they're on sale than they do when they're full price. So they actually end up making money even though they're selling them at a reduced price.
I believe it.
And that's part of the marketing scheme too, because like I am still pissed that downloading an MP3 for a song, like just a single song, is like $1 when you can buy a 20-track CD for $12. Like that just seems ridiculous to me. And for whatever reason, I rarely ever see like CDs for download like go on sale. But that's, at least for games, that seems to be part of the marketing thing. Like when you have an electronic form of something, some sort of media, whatever it is, and you can download it, it's typically really cheap. I mean, for the manufacturer, and you're talking about like cents for every instance that you sell. But for games, like it seems like a really big marketing push where the markup on full price for a downloadable game is going to be something ridiculous, like 100,000%, whatever. But then when you put it on sale, your markup, even though you're still getting probably a 200% profit or something like that, everyone's like, holy shit, fucking $2, 80% off. Yeah, hell yeah, I'll buy that. I won't even ever play it, but it doesn't matter. It's $2. I know Billy has done that. It's like, dude, it was $1. I don't care.
Dude, I have a ton of Steam games that I've never played. Because I'm like, oh shit, that's $1.
Yeah, which to me,
look at that, or that's $4. Sweet.
In my mind, that's actually an excellent step. It's a progressive step, because then you have all of these, smaller. I don't want to say production companies, but even a single person who's just really good at producing and making small video games or apps or whatever it may be. Now they're getting a lot more exposure, and they're able to support themselves. So I really like that, because you get like smaller time people who don't have the bank accounts that an Activision or whoever might have, and they're actually making money. Even if it's not millions and millions of dollars, they're still making enough money to live off of. And you're seeing that with more than just video games too, not to kind of preach on everybody, but Amazon is becoming a big powerhouse in the self-production industry, where if you want to self-produce or publish your book or whatever it may be, they have a lot of options for you where you don't have to pander to a big publishing house or anything. They'll help you do it just online. So it's nice to see that, and I just thought that was really interesting reading that article that everyone's predicting, kind of the death of the disc game. And I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I saw a little bit of I think it was like a leaked thing for the next PlayStation, where it looks more like a box that's designed for like cloud management, where rather than using disc games, you just store your games on Sony's cloud, and then you just download them whenever you want to play them. So it's kind of interesting to see how all of this is shifting, from the classic VHS type model, and right. These huge cassettes to you don't even need anything. You just have a box storing it for you. Everything's cloud.
No, it's the age of putting something inside something else is over. If I want to watch a movie, I stream it online. I don't go open the movie case and put it in the movie player. That's crazy.
Although movies present, man, they're an entirely different beast, because now you have to talk about like rights to sell, and it's so stupid. Because I'm like, I know a lot of people love Netflix and everything. I have a huge beef with stuff like Netflix, because in the past, when you went to a Blockbuster or something, they had everything. I mean, everything. They had whatever movie they wanted, they just could go get, and they rented it out. But in order for Netflix and things like Netflix to stream stuff, they have to have exclusive property rights, so no one else can do it. So if your tastes are, what's the best word for it, multifaceted, let's call it that, and you like different genres of movies and stuff, well, fuck you. You're going to have 12 different subscriptions because God knows who's going to have the rights to whatever it is you're going to want to watch. But that's a completely different beast. That's
right. We're really veered off
yeah,
Soul Calibur in this
we are
last
way
10
off
minutes.
Soul Calibur. But that's okay. That's what you get with our podcast. We're going
Right.
to learn you. Okay, we're educated people, and we're going to give you a little bit of news and whatnot. But that's really all that I have. Like, I just thought that was interesting about the whole disc thing. It'd be nice if like they sold like little flash drives instead of discs. I'd dig that. But
that would be interesting. I'd probably buy one.
I think it'd be a lot cheaper too, but who knows? So that's all I have. That was just a little tangent to kind of top off everything. Any last subject matter you want to kind of throw out there, Billy, before we kind of call it?
You gonna play Diablo 3?
I actually play WoW a lot, and so yeah, right. And so, but I mean, so I agreed to pay for a year of WoW to get D3 for free. So yeah, I'll be on mine.
Yeah, that was their little gimmick to get all the WoW players.
Right.
Well, that's if you think about it, gimmick of keeping WoW alive.
Right. So if I play WoW until I'm $60 away from Diablo 3 coming out, I might as well just pay for the whole year and just not pay for Diablo 3. Like if I just quit WoW $60 short, I'll break even anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a good deal if you play WoW. Absolutely.
Right.
All right. Well, before we go, I kind of want to make this a tradition because we have to have a section where our guest just rants about something. And for the most part, you're a nice guy. You're pretty. I mean, you're not really. I don't want to say outspoken. Kind of quiet, kind of reserved. So I want to get you mad. I want to know what makes you really angry out there, and I want you to tell the world. And it doesn't have to be gaming related. It can be anything. I want you to just go on a rant, get on your soapbox, tell everybody else how stupid they're being because of this one thing. So with that, go.
That's tough for me. I'm a really nice guy. I'm pretty easygoing. Like if you know me, I'm the guy that'll help you move and stuff. I have a truck and everything. Like I'm a good guy. So I'm trying to think. I'm trying to help you out. If this is what you want to do.
Good guy, Bill.
Good guy, Bill.
Right.
And then we got the bad guy, Bill.
Yeah, that's me.
Nothing? You can't think of anything? Not like one little tick or pet peeve that you see all the time? You're like, oh, I wish I could hit that person.
Good right now. I mean, I just graduated college. I got a job right away. They paid for my move and everything. I'm here going to work and playing video games. I mean, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to help you out. But I just can't.
You're letting all of our fans down.
I know.
You're letting down. They want to hear angry. They want some sort of madness. Nothing in the brain, huh? Just nothing.
I'm trying to think, and I'm gonna.
What about when you don't get to play KDZ at a tournament?
Dude, I would have beat that guy. He's lucky he didn't get to play me. I'm gonna say that. He's listening. Although I don't know. Yeah, probably. I'll probably see him again. He'll probably beat me down. But no, dude. I wish he would have lost to Mick in winners finals so that I could have beat him. Having to play Mick again was rough.
What? How did that go down? So he lost in winners final. Mick lost in winners finals. Then losers.
Right. It was like he won the first two games, and in the third game, KDZ's stick had a problem and paused the match, and they let it go. And from that point on, KDZ won winners finals. It was really, really interesting. And if he would have took the round on that pause, Mick would have won too.
Wow, that's weird.
So, but I'm not really mad.
Good guy, Mick.
That's what happened.
That's okay. Mick got his revenge, so that's all that matters. Well, man, if you don't have it, man, I can't believe you're sticking us like this.
Honestly, what makes me mad is every time the game is patched, that I have to relearn the whole game again. Like, when you look at Marvel vs. Capcom 2, that game wasn't patched, and that game, people played that for like 10 years after that game came out, and they kept coming up with new things. And even though like gameplay wasn't balanced and everybody was really cheap. Everybody was, so that made it balanced. That's how the game was, and people figured it out. They figured out how to work in the game system that they got. And nowadays, like, I gotta learn the game every time it's patched, and it's ridiculous. And why can't people just be happy? Why can't they just accept the game as it is and learn how to play the game instead of just complain about it? Then it gets patched, and then they'll just keep complaining, and then it'll just get patched again. Well, I mean, what's the point?
That's because, you know, developers want to keep their fan base happy. They're not making a game for the pros. They're making the game for casuals.
Right? They're not making money on these patches.
Well, not yet.
Right.
I mean, once they announce Super Turbo Ultimate Mega version of Soul Calibur 5, then they'll want to have that money. So.
Yeah, but they'll get our money because they'll include characters, hopefully.
Well, yeah, that's what I figured they would do, is like do some sort of weird, like.
And I'll have to relearn the game again. I'll have to learn how to deal with these new characters.
Yeah, I figured they would like do like the Mortal Kombat route, you know, where they have these like costume packages that you can download and shit like that.
Well, they got that already. You can have the Tekken clothes now.
Do they? Oh,
yeah.
I did not know that.
You can dress up Lei Sha like Xiao Yu and everything.
Shows how much I pay attention to
But
DLCs.
no, yeah, what I really want. So we got Evo, and then we're gonna have Tekken Tag 2 come out in September, November.
Yeah, they said September.
What I would really love to see announced is some kind of next year early Soul Calibur 5 patch with characters like they did Arcade Edition for Street Fighter 4, where they had the twins come in. I really love to see like a $15 online patch with characters.
That brings like Talon back.
Right, Talon, Zoslamel. Those two characters I think everybody wants that missing.
I don't know if I haven't said this on the podcast, but there was actually a buddy of ours who he lives out in California, and when we were out there for a little vacation thing, our friends were talking about this guy, and he was so mad when Soul Calibur 5 came out because they took out Zoslamel, right? The only black character in the game. He was pissed. He was so mad.
You should just tell him Astaroth is black.
I mean, I guess, but he's not technically anything, you know. He's a golem or whatever. But the one actual legitimate African they took out of the game, you know, he was so mad. I thought it was pretty funny, but it's
interesting.
There's no diversity.
Didn't think about
there's
that.
no diversity in Namco. It's all Japanese and American people. But,
right.
Oh, I thought that was really funny. Who else other than Talon are they missing? Because I thought they we have a
well, there's no Youngsung or Huang type. I mean, Lei Sha's in there, but I mean, Youngsung was always a little different.
Yeah, so he's gone. He was so bad that they just nerfed him out of the game, I guess.
Right.
Got completely nerfed. If you look at the code of the game, he's actually in there, but he's so bad you can't play him. He won't let you. They won't let you. That's all.
Right.
Okay, well, I guess we got a little bit of a rant out of you. That's
Dude, I really hate the patches. I mean,
well, like I understand like patches, you know, after the game has been out 8 months, but like after the game's been out for like 3 weeks, like, oh man, we need to patch this. I'm like, seriously, are you really just going to cater to people crying? Like, oh my god, this is so broken. It's like, well, not if you don't get hit by it.
Right.
Which is
not if you learn black.
And that's mostly what they did. I mean, it's hard to dispute that they catered a lot to people bitching. But yeah, I would like to see patches being used more proactively to fix glitches as opposed to balancing shit. Because for those, I'm sure everybody's aware of now the fucking super glitch, where you can sidestep out of not only super grabs, but a lot of characters just regular CEs you can sidestep away from. So
yeah, like Pyrrha CE just goes through Astaroth if you do it.
Right.
It's just goofy. So I mean, it'd be nice if we had another patch to fix that bullshit, but don't really need another balance patch for a while. But
like, who knows? Yeah. They might make us pay for that stuff. You know,
they might have a patch like right before Evo. Then
that would be the worst possible decision to make. Just, oh my god, that would be so terrible. Watch them do it too. Watch them.
Dude, I'll cry. I'll die a little inside if they do that. Honestly.
Okay.
I think we all will.
Well, it's been a great conversation. I think we hit a lot of topics, which is always nice.
Kind of jumped all over.
Yeah, which is good. We like to give a little variety,
right.
and most of it was Soul Calibur, but not all.
The Calibur stuff was pretty solid.
So I hope so. And
yeah, I mean, until we get into like character-specific podcasts, I like to jump around.
Yeah, I do. Well, that's what I like to do too. I like to talk about the different topics going around, and even if it's not Soul Calibur related, I mean, everyone out there listening should understand that Soul Calibur is not in a bubble. It's a part of a gaming community that is bigger and larger than just Calibur. So you kind of got to keep yourself in the know on things. But other than that, we did well. So thank you very much for coming on to the podcast. We really appreciate it. We might have to,
thanks for having me.
Might have to call on you again if you end up winning season's beatings. So
I'll try.
So we'll definitely tune into the stream and see how you do. But other than that, that's all I got. So any last words? Either one of the Bills. Either one of you got anything?
Play Diablo 3 with us.
Sure.
I'll
let you have all my rings of Jordan because I won't care.
Dude,
I started Twitter for our podcast. So once I got people start following that, it's SoulCast Podcast, all one word. So join that up.
Nice.
And then I'll like tweet you things like "Sup, bro,"
you mad bro,
or like when I'm streaming. Eventually, I want to get these live so that people can like just watch and listen at the same time. I just have to get everything figured out. I'm just lazy, so
that's okay. It's a common problem we have.
I'll eventually get around to it. Eventually, maybe next time. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll figure something out. Well, any last words, MysticBill, for any of the people listening out there?
I hope you guys all come out to Season's Beatings and UFGT8.
Absolutely, and I will be at UFGT8 as well. Billy is still on the fence, but we'll see if I can drag him along. So with that, thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks again, Bill, for coming on, and thanks again, Bill, for being my co-host as always. And aside from that, we will catch everybody later. Have a good one.